Welcome into sportsbookreview.com. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And that is correct. We are officially back. It is the off season, and we are ready to rock and roll. We're talking college football news. We're talking some stats from this prior year. We got a lot of stuff that we're going to hit on. We're going to do this once a week. So make sure that you tune in here, that you are subscribed to the channel. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're watching right now. Like the video for us. Share it out. Jump in the comments, etc. We would love to hear from you. We are going to keep this thing going. So all the way through the offseason and on into the next season and then the next offseason. College football never ends. Yeah, I say the offseason, but there is no real offseason.
Nope.
There's no football being played right now. But we're about to talk about coaching changes. We're about to talk about all kind of stuff. So lots to dig into. Of course, do us a favor. Go over to sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. That is the website for all of your college football gambling needs. Go and check it out for us. We would certainly appreciate it. Like I said before, like the video, subscribe, share the show out, and jump into the comments. We want to hear your thoughts. We're going to start off with the news. And let me go ahead and tell you, Tennessee has just fired Jeremy Pruitt at the time that we were recording this. It was earlier today. Jeremy Pruitt, the head coach, Tennessee started their own internal investigation into recruiting benefits, improper benefits for players. You never hear that when a coach is successful. If Jeremy Pruitt had gone 7-3 and had a big win over Georgia or Florida or whoever, we wouldn't even be talking about this. And yet, Pruitt went 3-7 this year. He went 8-5 last year. They just signed this massive extension to where his buyout would have been over $12 million this year. Philip Fulmer, the athletic director, also stepped down today. Now, he was, from what we can tell, he was not forced out, but it kind of seemed that way. And so he stepped down, although he was the one that issued the termination letters, and he stated that he wanted the next AD, whoever the new guy is, to be the one to make the coaching hire. Fulmer hitched his wagon to Pruitt, and Pruitt did not turn out. So with that said, it's the middle of January, late January now, and Tennessee is in the middle of a coaching search. They were technically not allowed to be in or not supposed to be in through ethical standards, I guess you could say. And now they have to look for a head football coach. They just hired in Kevin Steele, who was the former defensive coordinator at Auburn. He's an alum of Tennessee. He along with, I think we can say along with instead of he was not a part of it, but I think he was. He was part of a coup by some of the boosters at Auburn to get Gus Malzahn fired and get him the job at Auburn. That didn't work out. Brian Harsin comes in. Harsin puts him on the chopping block. Now we have Kevin Steele as the interim head coach at the University of Tennessee for the time being. They still have to go through an AD search. And then they have to go through a coaching search. How long is all that going to take? That's where we kind of get into the weeds, right?
Yep.
So, first off, I want to get your thoughts on it, and then we'll go through, like CBS Sports has got a list of potential candidates. We'll go through some of those.
For coaches or for athletic director?
For coaches.
Okay.
So, obviously, they don't care who the name is for AD. I mean, it could be anybody.
That's right.
But
I wish it could be anybody.
That's true. You wish you could get that job.
I would love to have that job.
Tell me your thoughts here. One, this is a little bit absurd that these guys did their own investigation just to get out of paying a $12 million buyout, but they were already on the hook for so much money for other coaches and whatnot. They have been in the red for, as long as we can remember.
Yep.
What is this just absurd?
Yeah, I don't like the investigating your own guy just so you can fire him with calls.
This started with Kansas, by the way. David Beatty, Jeff Long, the AD at Kansas, tried to get out of paying a $3 million buyout for David Beatty, which is absurd. Like, you fired the guy early, give him his money. In this situation, Tennessee took it a whole next step up. Like, the NCAA is not involved here.
Nope.
This is all internal.
Nope.
All right, so continue on.
So I don't like that. I think if I was a new coach coming in, I would need to understand some of the things that went along behind the scenes about that, and to make sure you're not going to sign me to a deal that you can just red ink right through at any point in time. We all know how the sausage is made in college football. We all know that if you play big boy college football, the inner workings of that college football all know the skeletons.
Oh, yes.
And
Especially
it's
in the
always
SEC.
been a thing. Yes, especially in the SEC. We all know that. If you now are going to turn on your own people, like there's a reason no coach has ever left a school and like blabbed about what they did at that school to illegally get recruits, because they're going to take that information with them to the new place and use it the same way to get their recruits with them. I don't like that. I think that's going to make it very difficult to get someone to trust you to come to that school.
I agree.
I think that's a problem. I don't have a problem with firing Pruitt. I also have a big problem. This is Phil Fulmer's fault, or whoever the people that made the decision, is extending Pruitt. Me and you talked about this before. Who are you bidding against?
Yeah, there was nobody coming to get him.
Who after mediocre, 8-5, okay. Why? He's still got, what, 2 or 3 years left on his deal at that time?
It was only his second year.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And it was a 5-year deal.
Yeah, so he had 3 years left on his deal.
Why?
Who's outbidding you? Who is coming to get Jeremy Pruitt and steal him away from Knoxville?
Well, and it was the same thing with Philip Fulmer, right?
Oh, well, yes.
They extended Fulmer.
There's not another school out of 130 schools that would have hired him as an AD. And yet you thought we should give him a raise? Where's he going to go? Like, sometimes pay raises are earned. Absolutely get it. If nobody else wants you, but you've done an exceptional job, we're going to give you money for doing the exceptional job. Makes sense. Sometimes you have to pay people, overpay them because you like them. They haven't done a lot, but you don't want to lose them because somebody else is courting them and taking them away. I understand that. In either one of these situations, that wasn't happening. You just want to give money away?
That's a
and if you want to give money away, you pick these two guys to try to give money away to?
So the AD, Fulmer, he would have been in charge of the president would have just signed off on it.
Yes.
Fulmer would have been the one to give the extension
to Pruitt.
That's right. For Fulmer, that would have been the chancellor of the school.
I was about to say,
right?
the chancellor would have had to done that, right?
That's the next guy up the totem pole.
What are the chances that guy was just a big UT fan growing up and Phil Fulmer's his hero? Like, if I was the chancellor of a school and Les Miles was my head coach and he was mediocre at his job, you probably don't have to twist my arm very hard to make me give him a raise. I love that guy. I worship that guy.
Well, and if the football program looks like it was headed in the right direction, which it was last year,
maybe I could talk myself into that.
The issue is that none of what they did last year was really
great.
Like, their best win was maybe over, what, a not great Missouri team or a not great Kentucky team? Like, or maybe the bowl win over Indiana, where Indiana shot themselves in the foot multiple times. Right?
But, I mean, at the same thing, you're talking about Indiana, Missouri, Kentucky. These are teams that your Tennessee, you're supposed to be better than them all the time until I get a W. Not that all these other wins don't matter. Until I get a W against Alabama, which you play every year, a Florida, which you play every year, or Georgia, which you play every year. Don't come asking for more money. Now, I might give you more money, and I might not fire you. I'm not going to fire you. I'm not going to not hire you. If you're on the last year of your deal or 2 years before your deal's up, I might extend you. I'm not going to give you a raise. Like I'm happy with where we're at, but at some point in time, 9-3 has to become 10-2. And I need, or if you're going to give me 9-3, I'll take a weird loss to a Kentucky or South Carolina or a Missouri every now and then.
I would prefer that you be dominant because all of those games that we talked about were one possession games.
But I
don't
even
down
care
to the last
about that. I don't care about that. Did we win or did we lose? I don't care if it was by 1 point at the last second. But if you can give me a win over Alabama, I'll make you pay. If you can give me a win over a Georgia, I'll get you paid. If you give me a win over, but you got to give me something to say, you know what? Our fans just experienced something that they haven't experienced in a decade. There's a generation of Tennessee fans out here that have never felt this, and you just gave it to them. That's worth a couple $100,000.
Yeah. That's worth an extension of a couple of
years.
That's
worth it for that in Knoxville lore to be replayed over the next 5 years of people to remember this day and remember this moment. That's worth it. But beating the teams you're supposed to beat keeps your job. I'm not firing you. I don't have the unrealistic expectations of most of these people that run SEC schools that think it's 10 years and you're out of here, 10 games and you're out of here. If you ever, dip below 10 games 2 years in a row, you're gone. I don't adhere to that. You can get upset. That happens. It's sports.
Yeah.
I need you to do some upsetting. At some point in time, your opponent needs to leave crying, and you haven't made anybody cry.
Nope, not in the slightest. So let's talk about candidates right quick. Of course, Kevin Steele is the first one. He is
a disaster hire.
Former defensive coordinator. Now, he was the head coach at Baylor. This was 18 years ago.
It was a long time ago, partner.
He was 9-36 at Baylor. That was his only head coaching job to date. However,
9-36.
Yeah, 9-36.
That is pretty bad.
It's definitely
and
not
football
good.
How much has football changed in 18 years?
Well, let me tell you who all he's worked for since then.
Okay.
Bobby Bowden, Nick Saban, Dabo Sweeney, Les Miles, Gus Malzahn.
He's worked for a lot of people.
He's worked for some pretty good coaches, I would say. Has that changed the way that he will run his own football program? Whoever steps into this job is not going to be able to win right away. There is some talent there. It's not enough to be able to compete in that division, in that conference.
In the SEC, do you think that coordinators have more of a voice in recruiting their side of the ball over the head coach?
It depends on the job.
Because his recruiting ability at Auburn was not great.
No.
Now he did some good things with some great talent.
Yeah.
But
he was able to develop players.
He did develop players.
He's a pretty good SEC. You know what he is? He's an older version of Jeremy Pruitt.
I'll give you that.
That's 100% what he is.
Yeah. Why would they just run that back?
Well, he's a Tennessee alum. You don't expect this guy to be able to do much. Who knows if there's NCAA stuff coming?
I'm not a big Tennessee. I'm not a big the alum guy fan.
Oh yeah, the guy that this is home for him.
I think that's a fool's errand to find the part. Michigan always trying to find the Michigan man. No, why don't you find somebody that can beat Ohio State?
That's all you need.
What if that guy comes from Utah and has never stepped foot in the state of Michigan? What if that guy's never been north of the Mason-Dixon line before in his life? Would you take that hire?
I would absolutely
if once
take that hire.
every 4 years he could beat Ohio State? Because I think I could care less about you being a Michigan man. And I'm crapping on Michigan here, but I've always thought that doesn't make any sense. Just looking at your own alumni base shortens your list of candidates so small.
But if because Ole Miss did this with Matt Luke, right?
Now you better damn well know you got some NCAA stuff coming on if you're hiring Steele.
If that's the case,
then that hire makes sense and it's the right hire.
Yes.
Because you get him cheap. Because when you fire him, you want that firing to be cheap.
You got that right. All right, next candidate's Tom Herman, former Texas coach. He's got a 7-10 winning percentage. Never lost a bowl game. Yeah. He's pretty good.
He'd be on the list of people I'd call.
Bill O'Brien, former Houston Texans coach. Now he has agreed per reports to become Alabama's offensive coordinator. We'll talk about that. But
he'd be on the list of the names of people I'd call.
Yes.
I think he's a hell of a coach. He was an idiot of a GM.
Very much so, but you don't have to worry about that in college necessarily. Tony Elliott, Clemson offensive coordinator. Elliott I think he would be good in this spot.
Probably.
But
not on the list of people I'd call. But he'd probably, if I got wind that he wanted the job or was interested in the job, I would sit down and talk to him. But I wouldn't actively pursue him.
Jamie Chadwell, Coastal Carolina.
Very short list of people that I would call.
He's a Tennessee native, an East Tennessee native, as we talked about.
Grew up a Tennessee fan.
Yep. He would take it without hesitation.
Well, I don't know. He would need to know. We would need to make sure there's no major NCAA stuff, or he's protected from the NCAA stuff.
Probably that. I do think he would still take it without hesitation.
It's real easy to say, I'm not going to look at these 3 years that we're on probation and judge you with that. But at the end of the day, everyone looks at your whole resume and they forget to take out the years where in the professionals, your team was tanking or your team was on NCAA violations. They just conveniently forget you were brought in strictly to lose for a little bit.
Exactly.
And then go.
Gus Malzahn is a name that has been brought up. Veteran SEC coach, knows the landscape.
Gus is on the list of 6 people I would call.
And then finally, the last one that they have listed here, Hugh Freeze, Liberty head coach.
Without question.
Who has said
he would take that
Tennessee
job.
Is his dream job.
That's right. He grew up a Memphis boy.
Yep.
And yeah, if you grew
Tennessee
up
was the
in
state
Memphis,
school.
That's right. It was a state school. When he grew up, Memphis was not Memphis. And yeah, you lived in the state of Tennessee, you bled orange.
They've got Billy Napier listed here.
Billy might
maybe
take it, might not. He wouldn't be on a list of people I'd call.
What would your list be?
Though I'm not saying all the names because I don't.
We're not going to fire up the chat here.
I might lose a lot of credibility. To name some of the names, I would need to sit down with my chancellor, with my president, and the board of directors, whoever is responsible, and let them see some groundwork as to why I'm doing what I'm doing that might be seen as crazy or not a good thing. And I think when I was done, they would not think that it was a good thing. They would think it was a great thing. It's a humanitarian thing, and it would need to be the right thing to do.
I like your thing.
That's because I'm a hell of a salesman.
You better believe that. You better believe that. All right, let's move into the bowl gambling final tally. We're going to talk about that. Now, obviously, we went through and picked every bowl game against the spread and the total. Chris, you went 30-20. You were 16-10 against the spread, 14-10 on totals. You were up 7.3 units.
Not too shabby for a guy that did really bad in the regular season.
That is not too bad. But, hey, this total actually brought you back above 500%. Or, yeah, above 500. Not bad.
I had a 10-0 week, which is the highlight of any – the only other highlight is several years ago, we picked playoff NFL games, and I ran the table against the spread.
There you go.
Went perfect. Didn't miss one against the spread. Never thought I'd be able to do anything like that again. Going 10-0 in one college football weekend. That was amazing. Yes, this bowl season, I felt pretty good.
Oh, yeah. No, it definitely worked out.
You were one game off of me.
29-21 for me.
You were one game apart. I couldn't talk you off of Ohio State. I think you're not going to agree with this. I think that was a reverse jinx for the Bama fan.
Along with the fact that Saban was 0-4 against the spread in playoff championship games. I thought the talent was pretty equal. I thought they were, but either way, it is what it is. I missed that one. That's right. Against the spread, I was 16-10.
We did pretty good, though.
I was 13-11. The one that cost me on the totals was the Wisconsin Wake Forest, and I had the under 52.5 because I thought that Wisconsin would be able to shut them down.
I thought we talked about that.
We most certainly did. You took the over, I took the under.
Okay, for some reason I thought we were lockstep with Wisconsin's going to blow the doors off them, and they're going to break this over.
Well, I thought that they were going to blow the doors off of them. I thought it was going to be like Wake Forest had a ton of their stars out for the game.
You thought Wake Forest nothing, Wisconsin 39, and that's
I really thought
butt whipping.
Wake Forest, 35-7, 35-14, something like that, and that would have been under the 52.5. And there you go. But either way, I went 13-11 on totals. I went 16-10 on spread. I was up 5.39 units. Not too shabby.
No, it's great. We had a great bowl season.
We do a lot of fun. Every year. It feels like
we've done well on the bowls. It is funny. No matter how well we do, if we pick against your school, you seem as if we're the worst that we've ever done at this, and that it's just a personal indictment that we walked into your house and we slapped your mother.
Yeah. We'll need you to stop doing that. Actually, don't stop doing that.
Do it. I don't care.
Keep on coming in.
It's not that I don't care.
Tossing the hate.
Just know that at night when I go to bed, I cry, and you made me do that. You dick.
All right, look, let's jump into. I want to talk about the Bama staff changes, and the reason I'm doing this is it's a tree at this point, right?
Yeah.
So because it leads into a ton of other things. Steve Sarkisian, new head coach at Texas. We have not gotten a chance to talk about that on this channel here.
That's right.
That's it doesn't make a ton of sense.
I think he's Tom Herman 2.0, literally. And
he might be more mature. He might have gone through more adversity, so maybe that makes more sense.
Do you think going through adversity makes you mature, or do you think being mature makes you mature?
I think it can work both ways, right?
And I don't know. I've been through a lot of adversity. I'm still a sophomore.
Just because it doesn't make sense does not mean that it won't work. It is possible that it could work. It's just Texas paid a lot of money
To fire Tom.
to fire a guy that won, over 70% of his games, 71% of his games. I don't.
Didn't do too shabby against his rivals.
Yeah, I think he did okay against Oklahoma.
He won.
He was not great against TCU.
2-1. No, TCU's the one snake bit team he couldn't beat.
So
that hurts Texas, by the way.
Yes, absolutely.
But if you ask Texas fans, would you rather beat Oklahoma and lose to TCU?
Well, I will tell you this: Steve Sarkisian.
I don't want to lose any of them.
Wait, exactly. Steve Sarkisian came in and immediately started talking about how important the eyes of Texas are.
Yeah, and
that's what you and I have talked about before. For those that have caught, our show, we have talked about the eyes of Texas as a major, major point in this because the boosters, that stands up for the school, and Tom Herman was with his players, and sometimes you got to be able to tread that line a little thin. It's weird. And so the Sarkisian thing, I think, can work. It's odd when you look at it on its face. But with him, he's bringing offensive line coach Kyle Flood, who's the former Rutgers head coach, and special teams coordinator Jeff Banks, who is a master recruiter, just incredible, especially in Texas. Used to be at Texas A&M, went to Alabama. He's now at Texas. So, and there's talk about he might be hiring defensive coordinator Pete Golding to bring with him. There's a ton of different things out there. Running back coach Charles Huff is the new head coach at Marshall. So, really, the majority of the offensive side of the ball is going to be changed over. Yep. And it is what it is. Charles Huff, running back coach, I don't know how well that's going to work out, but it fits into what we were talking about them wanting to save some money on their next head coach after Doc Holliday. They were paying Doc, $800,000 a year?
They're already a pretty cheap school.
I would imagine Huff, who was making...
Not a place I would go and take half of what the AD's making, because that's probably not a lot of money.
They're not going to have to pay Huff a whole lot.
No,
there.
He'll take it for cheap.
And he's an incredible recruiter. He gets along well with his players.
When somebody's a great recruiter at Alabama, I just got to wonder...
Well, but Huff was great at Tennessee, and he was great at other places as well.
These are big schools. It's not Marshall.
Agreed. We got to figure out, can he develop talent? Can he find the diamond in the rough that's like a two-star?
This is not about recruiting anymore. This is about seeing that two-star that really is a 4-star, but he's got a lot of baggage or whatever, and let's bring it the Randy Mosses of the world. You gotta find that. That's not because I can recruit at big boy SEC schools.
I do wonder, is this going to be a good hire? And
I also worry about running back coaches. I know that's a bad thing. I know it's a bad stigma.
No, I've
never seen a great running back coach. Huh?
We saw it firsthand in Memphis. Larry Porter was the LSU running back coach.
I know, and he was a great recruiter at LSU. Imagine that. Couldn't coach his way out of a bag, and he doesn't really know X's and O's. It's not. I don't know the word I'm trying to look for. It's not a coincidence that you can take a running back off of any team, any roster, and drop them on any other team in less than 15 minutes. They know their job of the offense.
Yes.
That means what they have to do isn't so intricate as all the other position coaches, which makes it's just a stigma. I know it's a bad stigma, and I probably need to change my mind on that, but I just haven't seen it work.
Now, that's not to say that it can't work.
That's right. I just haven't seen it work.
But we haven't seen it yet. So,
but you're talking about he's on the cheap, and he's got a hell of a resume for recruiting purposes.
Yeah. And maybe it works. So we'll see. I'll say this. There are a lot worse hires they could have made.
I don't know.
No, there's certainly some bad hires that Marshall could have made, especially if they're trying to go on the cheap. But we shall see.
They just got rid of a great coach.
Oh, they most certainly did. I don't think they would have been in bad shape by keeping what they had.
Well, no.
I mean, my God.
I think their expectations are crazy, and now wanting to go cheap. Okay.
Yeah, it is what it is. And then, of course, new offensive coordinator, or at least reportedly, Bill O'Brien, former Houston Texans head coach, will now be the Alabama offensive coordinator. This is kind of the Saban school for wayward boys.
But he's not a wayward boy.
Agree.
He's the most overqualified person I've ever seen in my life at any job, ever.
Yeah, I don't know why he would
Ever.
would take this. And I think he's going to be great at it.
Well, yes. This guy was dropped into the worst situation that a human being could find themselves, inheriting a job at Penn State. And he was exceptional at it.
Yes.
He was able to recruit in the midst of an awful situation, and that guy knows how to coach football. He knows how to call plays. He knows how to get his guys ready. He knows how to run a football program, okay? He knows how to do that, and he's great at it.
Yes.
He was fired because he is an god-awful GM. He's not a personnel man at the professional level. He doesn't understand how to make deals. He doesn't know how to trade. He doesn't know how to make handout contracts. He doesn't know any of that. You know why? Because he's a football guy. You need somebody with a great accounting degree and a great legal mind to do that other job.
Yes.
He's not that. So he didn't get fired because he was bad at football and needs to rehab. He doesn't need the rehab. He's qualified for every job available right now across the board in football coaching. And he took an assistant coaching job.
The new offensive line coach is Jeff Stoutland, who has been with the Eagles for years and years at this point. Stoutland was actually with Alabama when they had their first winning 3 out of 4 national championships, whatever, and then left to go to the NFL. Of course, the Eagles' entire coaching staff got fired. Stoutland is coming back to Alabama, and I think they're going to be just fine. Moving on from there, more coaching changes, and this is not head coaching changes and whatnot, but definitely something worth talking about. Michigan defensive coordinator, the new defensive coordinator, is going to be Mike McDonald. He was the Ravens linebackers coach for the last 7 years. So Jim Harbaugh steals a guy from John Harbaugh, and what does this even mean? Like, is it a good hire to bring in?
I think John knows him well. I think John thought this guy was due for a promotion but didn't want him to be in the NFL. And so he called Jim and said, hey, you need a DC, and this guy's a DC, man. This guy can run a defense. He can help you recruit. I think that was the call. I don't think
but he wasn't going to get rid of his DC to move this.
No, he wasn't going to get rid. No, he got one of the top 3 DCs in all of the NFL.
Yeah, Wink ain't bad. Wink ain't bad.
So you can't promote him. You don't have a spot for him. As long as you think you got Wink locked up, you don't want to put him out into the NFL ethos of defensive coordinator jobs, because now you got to play against him. But you keep him in the family, and you get him to a place that can get him paid really well.
Yeah. I think it was a smart move on both accounts.
I do too. I like this hire. I don't think if it was a good hire, John wouldn't have let it happen.
Yeah, I think
if John was looking to get rid of him, he would not have been like.
So that's what I was trying to figure out. Like, was he trying to get rid of him?
No, because if he was getting rid of him, he definitely wouldn't have like called Jim and was like, "Let me sabotage my little brother." I don't think they worked that way. I think they're pretty close.
Let's talk about LSU for a minute.
Oh God,
new offensive coordinator Jake PEETZ. Basically, Ed O, Steve Ensminger said, "I don't want to do this anymore."
Right.
I told you on the front end.
He is Mr. LSU, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. But he told Coach O back when he was an interim back in 2016. He said, "I don't want to do this.
I don't want this. I want what's best for LSU."
Yes,
but I don't care about
being the OC. I don't care about all that. I would prefer to stay back here.
I just want to call plays. I want to design football players. I'm going to work with kids, but I don't want.
Yeah, I don't want all that mess, right? So Jake PEETZ, who was the Panthers quarterbacks coach under Joe Brady.
That's right.
Who was the he was the passing game coordinator.
He worked under Ensminger for a year.
Yes. So Jake PEETZ worked under Joe Brady for a year, and they brought in DJ Mangus, who was a Panthers offensive assistant, who was also an offensive analyst under Joe Brady and Steve Ensminger back for that 2019 championship. Basically, they are trying to recreate the magic.
Well, I think they're trying to hire coordinators on the cheap. Yes,
because they are paying a ton of money in buyouts right now.
A large sum of money in buyouts to one Bo Pelini.
But Orgeron called Joe Brady and said, "Hey,
I need help.
Who would you recommend?"
And Joe loves LSU. And Joe's made it clear, if I ever go back to college, there's one place I'm going.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not interested in that game. But if I get washed out of the NFL, picking up the phone, I'm calling Baton Rouge.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I like the hires in the sense of it gets them cheap. It gets them. I don't know anything about these guys.
That's what I'm terrified of. Like, PEETZ has been in the NFL for 10 years.
He's been I do like NFL guys, though. You know that.
Yeah.
Because those guys, they're not recruiters that have to pretend to be coaches. Dabo Swinney. All the time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
They go to work. They go to work 360 days a year to coach up people. And when they're not coaching guys, they're learning about coaching guys. That's all they're doing is football.
And while PEETZ might be a quarterback coach this year, he was a tight ends coach before that. He's been quality control. He's been offensive assistant.
He's had a lot of jobs. He knows how to. I think he'll be fine running an offense.
Yes.
I think he'll be fine running an offense.
I tend to agree with you.
I think it might take some time to develop what you want to be in the SEC and with your team, but I'm not expecting fireworks immediately.
I don't think I am either, but it wouldn't shock me.
Oh no, it wouldn't shock me. It would make me very happy.
I bet it would. I know it would.
But it wouldn't. But I'm not expecting it by any stretch.
Totally fair. Let's move on. Let's talk about the final AP Top 25 poll. We're going to roll through the Top 25 very quickly, but kind of give you an idea of what they got right, what they got wrong, etc. That is part of the problem with this sport is there is such massive groupthink, and people do not use logic. They use favoritism. They use all that kind of stuff. They don't use actual logic or the results of the game. Laundry is a very good term for it, of course. We've talked about that. We'll start off in the back end. Number 25, Buffalo. 24, San Jose State. 23, Ball State. 22, Miami. 21, USC. I feel like Ball State could have been ranked higher.
I do too.
San Jose State only played 8 games. Ball State only played 8 games. I don't have a major problem here because, Buffalo played, a total of 6 games?
7 games.
7 games?
They were 6-1.
And then Ball State and San Jose State both played 8.
That's right.
I'm
glad they're all in the top 25. Miami, get the hell out of here. You're ranked because your team name is Miami.
Well, the issue as far as Miami is concerned is there's not that many other teams really worthy of being ranked.
That's you know what? Yes, sir. You could take non-Power 5 teams and you could have ranked them.
Look in the others receiving votes.
Army. Army's worth ranking?
I don't know because they didn't beat anybody.
The teams they did beat, they beat the hell out of them. Who did Miami beat?
NC State, I guess. I don't know. I don't have a good answer.
Tulsa not being in here. Army not being in here. App State not being in here.
Well, but Tulsa got beat by a 3-7 Mississippi State team.
That's fine.
Whatever they were.
That's fine. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. UAB hadn't beat anybody. Whatever. These are all schools. Nevada that I would have given preference to.
Nevada likely should have been.
And I would have hurled Miami out of here.
Nevada won their bowl game pretty convincingly. They only lost 2 games.
Do you do anything for the University of Miami by ranking them 22?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really.
What would you do to any of those other programs? Army. You just say, we're going to give it to if you win the Commander-in-Chief trophy, you get 25th.
Yeah, it's probably a smart idea.
You don't hurt anything. You're not hurting anybody.
That's true. USC at 21, was that surprising to you?
I thought it was
a little low.
Well,
but they also only played 6 games,
5-1. 5-1. I'm okay with it. I think they're better than that, but they didn't prove it on the field.
Yeah,
you get what you get.
It was rough. That's true. Number 20, Oklahoma State. Number 19, Texas. Number 18, North Carolina. 17, Liberty. And 16, Iowa. I do think that Iowa was a little better than 16th. However, they lost those 2 games at the beginning of the year. Liberty
is
vastly underrated here.
This is you are Liberty, and we are not ranking you any higher. Second team, North Carolina, get the hell out of here.
Toss them out.
You didn't beat anybody.
No.
You're going to keep giving me the NC State win.
That's all I got.
That's the list. That's the good team they beat. Okay,
yeah.
Where are they on this list? They're not close to here.
They dropped out because they got beat by Kentucky, who was a 4-win team.
They got beat bad by Kentucky too.
Well, it wasn't. It was 2 points.
Oh, but Kentucky scored a lot of points in that game that nobody expected, right?
That's true, and NC State had to come back just to keep it close.
Okay.
So, but either way,
North Carolina,
toss them out.
And
Texas,
Liberty's got to jump up like 8 spots.
Texas at 19.
I think that's right.
I think that's pretty good.
I think it's right.
That's fair.
By the way,
and Oklahoma State, same thing. And,
I think so too. They were wildly disappointing, but they still had some good wins on the season.
Yes,
you got to rank them.
So Texas was 8-3 this year. Is that right?
Texas 7-3.
7-3. Okay. Oklahoma State was right behind them, and I think that's fair because Texas beat Oklahoma State.
That's it. That's the reason, and I think they're fine where they're at. No quibbles with that at all.
But that is also the problem that I have with this next bunch, right? 15 Louisiana, 14 Coastal Carolina, number 13 Florida, number 12 Indiana, number 11 BYU. Indiana did not prove it against good teams all season. Like they got a win over Wisconsin that wasn't super impressive, and Wisconsin wasn't all that great either. Indiana at 12 just seems super high considering they got beat by Ole Miss.
Indiana needs to drop back a lot.
You have to put Liberty in front of Coastal.
Yes.
They beat them.
And I think Louisiana and Coastal are underranked right here.
Yeah,
I think I would drop Florida a lot more than they are.
I think so too.
Now, this is not a situation where you line them up and do you think Florida would beat Coastal? No, we're not playing that game.
No, this is deserving of a top 25
ranking. You're a 4-loss team, and one of those losses to my shitty LSU football team that cost you the SEC like a shot at the playoffs.
Yeah.
So no one's crying you a river, bro.
I'm with you.
Get to the back of this bus.
So we think Liberty needs to be moved up into the top 15. We need Florida and Indiana back out.
I need
Iowa,
Louisiana, Coastal, and Liberty to all be a big jump up.
And I could even move Iowa up there. So
Iowa needs to be moved up as well.
BYU at 11.
11-1.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
Like
we get into a weird menage a trois of I think Coastal should be ranked over BYU because they beat BYU. Liberty's got to be like, do you rank Liberty, Coastal, BYU? I would have all of them 11, 12, 13.
I think so. So let's have Liberty
Louisiana
at 11.
right behind them at 14.
So I'd do Liberty at 11.
And then maybe Iowa after that.
Coastal at 12. I would do BYU at 13.
We're throwing all this out because I would actually rank all of them a little higher. There's a school up here that I'm going to bounce back.
There's maybe a couple, actually. Northwestern at 10. Number 9, Iowa State. Now, Iowa State's got 3 losses, including a head-to-head loss to Louisiana.
Iowa State got to get to the back of this bus. You can stay
that.
ranked. You're not getting kicked out. You're not North Carolina, and you got wins that are good wins. You get to stay in this party. You just don't get to stay in the top 10, my friend.
Yeah, you got 3 losses. It is what it is.
And one of them to one of these schools at the little bitty school.
Number 8, Cincinnati. I think that's fair.
I'm okay with Cincinnati being 8. I think they're better than that, but that's fine.
Yeah, I agree. Number 7, Georgia.
I wanted to fight about this one. I don't know that I can.
They looked better towards the end of the season. I think they're okay. Like
so
they beat Cincy straight up.
You know what I always argue, and I can't be hypocritical. I always say you have to give teams the opportunity to improve.
Yes.
Which is why I'm not crushing Oklahoma. I'm not crushing Georgia because both of those teams did just that. They started the season off as one thing, and they greatly improved.
Yeah. Number 6, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
Totally fair.
Number 5, Notre Dame.
Think that's right.
I think that's wrong. I would have Notre Dame still at number 4 and A&M at number 5.
There's no way.
Like, here's the deal. Notre Dame lost by less to Alabama than A&M did.
I don't like playing that game, though.
Texas A&M beat that same North Carolina team that Notre Dame did, but they gave up more points when they didn't have any of their stars.
I hate playing this game.
But
I beat you by more.
No, hold on. But listen to me. Listen to me. Basically, what we are doing is we are saying that Notre Dame is number 5 here because they had to play Alabama and Clemson back-to-back.
outside of the big Clemson win, what other wins do they have? Because they ran through that same shitty ACC schedule.
What win does A&M have?
Well, A&M has all of the rest of the wins, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, they got a 3-point win over a 4-loss Florida team.
But that's still
You see what I'm saying,
When
though?
they beat Florida, Florida's better than that, though. You know that Florida's better than that. Okay, but hang on. So we got Florida ranked back in the back. We got Florida ranked, what, like 11th or 12th, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we would have had Florida out of the top 15.
Yeah, okay, like 16th.
But they're number 13 here.
But that's top 16 win against Florida? I don't care if it's by 3 points or not. It's better than anything Notre Dame has outside of the Clemson win.
I mean, maybe you're right. They'd have a win over number 13 Florida and number 18 North Carolina, and then Notre Dame has none of that, except that Notre Dame has that one win over Clemson.
Oh, they got the win over Clemson.
So,
but that's
Clemson,
Clemson
North Carolina,
without
Florida,
without Trevor Lawrence. So if we're gonna say, it was only 3 points and it was against this,
yeah, but they beat North Carolina without like the two-headed monsters at running back and the Daz Newsome at wide receiver. You see what I'm saying, though? Like, I think that Notre Dame got slighted because they had to play against Alabama in the playoff.
No,
if you had given
Notre Dame got slighted because people look back and said, man, I know they dominate the ACC their first year in the ACC. Hopefully their only year in the ACC. This conference sucks.
I think
that's what they said.
I think if you put Texas A&M in the playoff at number 4 and you put Notre Dame in the Cotton Bowl against Florida instead, I think that Notre Dame ends up number 4 at the end of the day, and A&M ends up
But I
number
need
5.
to know that Florida shows up and plays football. If Florida brings their guys,
that's what I'm saying. Like at Notre Dame, if the same situation happened,
because then Notre Dame would have beaten the hell out of a hapless Florida team that didn't want to be there,
and Texas A&M
gets smoked
barely.
by Bama.
No, I was saying A&M barely beat a hapless North Carolina team. Like that's my whole point here is
we disagree on the hapless. Mac Brown wanted to be there. The players that played absolutely wanted to be there and wanted to play, and they fought like hell. And the Florida coaching staff didn't want to be there, and they didn't prepare those kids at all. At all. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And you got to give me that.
I'll absolutely give you that.
Because Mac Brown gave everything him and his coaching staff gave everything they had to that game. And there ain't a damn soul that gave everything they had in that Florida game on Florida's side.
The top 3, I think, are correct.
The top 3 are right.
Number 3, Clemson. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 1, Alabama. I don't think there's any question about that. Let's close off today's show with the top 5 bowl performances. So next week, we'll get into top 10, bottom 10 teams against the spread, all that kind of mess. We will keep recapping the season along with looking ahead and whatnot. We've
given some information about whatever news breaks.
Exactly.
Somebody's going to get fired this week.
You got that
or
right. Somebody might get hired.
Or hit somebody by a bus or whatever. Or, somebody's going to get a job. Maybe it's your boy and I got to quit doing the show. That'd be awesome. I'll send you guys a nice letter.
Well, we'll keep talking about you. How's that? Top 5 bowl performances. Now, this is not including the CFP. I don't feel like that's fair to include that. I mean, obviously, we would have
scratch that one.
We would have Ohio State, and then we would have Alabama over Ohio State, right? I mean, those.
What are you talking about? You're talking about. You did individual teams.
Yeah.
I did bowl games. Well, what was the best game?
We might should have talked about this more before we.
When you said, "Hey, what's your top 5 bowl performances?" I thought we were talking about
I was talking about the teams. The teams.
Oh well, no, because then you're just taking the best teams and.
Well, but not necessarily.
Well, yeah, Alabama. They answered all of them. That's not fun.
How about this?
They beat the hell out of everybody. None of their games were fun to watch.
Let's roll through and just see what we've got. Okay, we'll see
right.
where we are, and then we'll talk about them a little bit, and then we'll get out of here. Number 1 for me was Oklahoma's Cotton Bowl performance, 55-20 over Florida. I understand that Florida was hapless; they didn't want to be there, et cetera, et cetera. But Oklahoma did show up. They did pound on an SEC team, which they have not done in forever.
You did this a couple of years ago when Texas beat the hell out of Georgia. How good is that Texas team?
And no. This is not me talking about Oklahoma for next year.
Yeah,
I'm talking about a one-game performance.
You picked Texas the next year to win or play and lose to Alabama in the championship game. Go ahead.
Yeah, I might have. I don't remember.
I remember.
So, but I'm not trying to prop up Oklahoma here because I don't think this signifies anything towards next season. I think this kind of shows where Oklahoma was and where Florida was, right? It was two complete, but the performance from Oklahoma was certainly top notch, right? I would believe
That's
that
right.
it
Not on my list. It was a terrible football game.
It was certainly a terrible football game. You want me to roll through my top 5 first? And then
I don't care.
Okay.
You do whatever you want.
My number 2 was the Boca Raton Bowl. BYU smashing UCF the way that they did, 49-23. That was an epic performance by Zach Wilson, by that entire BYU team.
That's on my list.
They stopped UCF in a way that nobody else this season was able to do it.
That's right.
And
it takes 30-year-old men to stop that offense. Cincinnati did it with 30-year-old men. Tulsa did it with older guys.
Cincinnati still only beat them by 3 points.
Yeah, that's right.
BYU.
But they still slowed them down.
BYU
still stopped them.
Smoked them.
Well, yeah.
Number 3 for me was the Cure Bowl. Liberty's performance against Coastal Carolina was definitely really impressive. And the game itself was unbelievable, right?
Great game.
37-34, Liberty won that one. The Arizona Bowl, the performance by Ball State. Now, San Jose State had some dudes out, all that kind of stuff. But Ball State still showed up in a big way in this spot. They were still
very proud of Ball State for this season.
34-13 in that one. Number 5 for me, Ole Miss.
Ole Miss is number 1.
The Outback Bowl, 26-20 over Indiana. That Indiana team was not a team that didn't want to be there. They wanted there, and they wanted to win it. And Ole Miss.
Do you think that might be the second best defense that Ole Miss went up against all year?
Yeah.
Because the SEC ain't real good at defense this year.
No.
And I got to say, Arkansas was 1. That was probably number 2.
I think so.
I think so, too. They looked good. That's my number 1. Lane Train is heating up. Don't jump in front of that joker.
No, I can believe
Let me tell you this. We're going to answer a question. When will Nick Saban lose to one of his assistants? Next year.
I don't know if it's next year.
In Tuscaloosa next year. Mark my words.
Maybe. It is possible.
You done?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The A&M UNC game was one of the most exciting and best games I've watched all year.
It certainly was.
Absolutely incredible football game, and it was the last bowl game of the season. It's just like, how did ESPN get this lucky? How did they make this thing happen? That was an incredible, incredible way to close the book. You wake up that day, and you got the Lane Train in Indiana, and you close that day out with A&M and UNC. I don't know that there was never a better start and finish to a day.
I agree.
So those are my 1, 2. Coastal Carolina Liberty, absolute barn burner football game. What Hugh Freeze did defensively to kind of shut down Coastal for the first half of the football game.
Certainly they did.
To make them have to come back and play, back on their heels.
Well, and had to play a different style of football than they're used to playing.
Yes, I thought was pretty impressive. And
now the coaching
Jamie
job
Chadwell did a great job of taking that punch.
Oh, yeah.
And fighting like hell to come back, man. That's hard to do.
The coaching job by Freeze at the end of the game, and we can second-guess all this different stuff about handoffs and whatnot when you're trying to run out clock and you're trying to set up for field goals instead of just scoring. Like, all that mess was a disaster, but it made for an incredibly entertaining football game.
It did. It's a bowl game that does not matter. This is an exhibition game. This is basically a preseason game, but at the end of the year.
Yep. But it did matter
when you get hit in the mouth like that, it's real easy to say, guys, we had a hell of a season. Let's go out and enjoy this half with one another, fighting with one another, and let's try to come back. That would have been real easy to do. And I'm going to bet there's a lot of coaches that have done that in the past. Not Jamie Chadwell. No, we're going to fight like hell for every inch of that field, and we're going to try to come back. We're going to try to win this thing.
Like, we are undefeated, and we are going to try and
stay. And they did everything they could. Those are my big 3.
Yep, your big 3.
I got 1. So BYU UCF was on there, but I'll let you have that one. 1 is just a personal biasy thing. Northwestern Auburn game.
That's in my honorable mentions.
Was just a really fun game to watch. I love this Northwestern football team, and I'm glad Pat's not leaving. It seems like he's going to stick around. Seems like he's going to stick around because I like this team, man, and they got a lot of guys coming back, and Northwestern is fun. the Big Ten is a bully conference. It's what the SEC used to be, and of power football and still playing good defense. And that's nostalgia to me. And the two teams that I grew up really liking, well, the only one team I ever grew up really liking was Wisconsin. And now we have a relationship with a lot of people in Northwestern. I've just fallen in love with that team. When they're good, it's fun, and it means a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
That game mattered. I thought that game was a lot of fun.
It most certainly was.
And then my last one, West Virginia Army.
That was one hell of a game.
Getting Army into a bowl game was priority number one for me. I was pretty upset when they didn't get in. When they got in and I saw it was in Memphis, I was crazy happy. And if it wasn't a shitty, rainy, cold day,
You'd have been there.
I probably would have went. And I knew enough people to get a ticket pretty easily. And it was a fun game, so.
This actually worked out okay. I did best performances by a team. You did best bowl games.
I
think we knocked out two different things.
Yeah, we did. So we definitely did two different things.
So Northwestern was in my honorable mentions for performances because they pretty much housed Auburn. I mean,
they dominate the hell out of them.
The Alamo Bowl, Texas 55-23 over Colorado was impressive. The Fiesta Bowl, Iowa State shutting down Oregon like they did, 34-17. And then the Potato Bowl, I thought was impressive from Jay Norvell and Nevada. That was 38-27. They beat Tulane. So, with that said, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Is there anything that we need to hit this week?
Nope, I think we're good, man. We hit a bunch.
We got a lot of weeks left in this offseason. Hopefully, you guys will stick around with us. Make sure and head over to sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. Go ahead and like this video. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, of course. Leave some comments. Tell us your thoughts, which bowl performance you thought was the best, which bowl game you thought was the best. Tell us your thoughts on the AP Top 25, et cetera, et cetera. You can always follow us on Twitter. I'm at GaryWCE.
I'm at Chris B. Giannini.
And then, of course, you can always follow Sportsbook Review on Twitter as well. There are links in the description to everything that you need to know. Make sure and jump in with us. We're going to be here every week from now on. We're pretty excited about it. So we are glad to be back. We are glad that you are back with us. For sportsbookreview.com, I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And we will see you again next week.